All right. Well, welcome everyone. I'm glad to be back here with another Rocket Pool community call. My name's Ken, and I'm joined by a couple of folks from the team. It looks like I've got on the team with us so far here is Langers and Maverick, and TPN. Is that you? I see as well too.
That's right. Hey, Ken.
Hey, good to see you. We actually had a chance to meet up in New York City a week ago or last week, so that was kind of fun. Met up with another member from the Rock Pool community, Lee and Patches. So that was a lot of fun to hang out and grab a beer together. Well, let's kick off a little bit here by taking a look at the biweekly update. And as a tradition on these things here, we'll start just a little bit with the protocol update here. It looked like the rETH, I guess I should mention this biweekly update is from the end of last week here, August 27th. And I don't think we've had a chance yet to cover it on a community call. So we'll cover it. It's a short one here. So there'll be plenty of time to ask questions and kind of get the latest of the team development here from Langers, but we'll start it off with a protocol update. Looks like it was kind of a mixed week. rETH supply had declined about 1% over the last 2 weeks, just shy now of under 500,000 ETH in rETH supply, I guess that is. The pending and active mini pool count also decreased over the last 2 weeks by about 2.6%. But interesting, the node operator count increased just slightly, ever so slightly, but 0.2%. So we'll take that as kind of a mixed week, but kind of shows that it's still pretty much, I think, in the doldrums a little bit. I don't know, Mav or Langers, if you have any thoughts about just the overall kind of trending in the protocol.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I mean, we had kind of like 1K exiting their mini pools as well, so I think that probably affected some of the TBL. I'm assuming that's included in that or not. But yeah, so no, I mean it's kind of the kind of current trend. Obviously, we are kind of there's things on the horizon that should hopefully help that. But yeah, that's kind of where we are at the moment, I guess.
Yeah, I'm seeing some comments, I guess, in trading that perhaps maybe it's not even mixed. It's maybe maybe downwards a little bit in terms of the RE supply and the pending mini pool count. So it's probably clearly something not indicative of growth, at least at the moment here in the current state. But we'll get to it a little bit later on. Things are changing here with a couple of versions of Saturn that I want to get to. But let's switch to the next topic here of the smart node update. And the biweekly indicated a new smart node release is coming. Langers, can you share the latest on that? Is it going to be version 1, version 2? What are we looking at on the smart node?
I think we're getting we're definitely getting a new version 2 beta. I'm not sure about version 1 unless it's a because we've effectively code freezed the version 1, so we're only really doing kind of like client updates to version 1, or like any serious issues with version 1, because we're focusing on version 2. But we're definitely getting a new version 2 beta very soon.
And remind me again, the version 2 beta, it's only for use on our testnet, correct? Right? We're not releasing it at this moment in time for mainnet, correct?
Yeah, at this stage, so part of I can go through it as part of our kind of like what we've been up to and that sort of thing. But we've been going through and doing a lot of testing on version 2, and so that's been going well. We've got a few things to kind of like fix up, and that's what this beta release will have in it. So some of those things. In terms of testing, it's gone very well. There was only really some more kind of like ODAL, just actually they're more kind of ODAL stuff that was not quite right, but not in terms of the watchtower necessarily, and that testing seems to be going pretty well. But the just like the listing of proposals and that sort of stuff. There's some funky stuff going on with those, but we're just working through fixing that up. So we'll be pretty confident in this next beta, or this beta, and maybe probably the next one, and then we should be able to release it out to everybody very, very soon. I would imagine the one after this beta will be an actual release, because I think there's not much point in holding it back anymore. I think it works really well. So I think the next one after this beta will be an actual release. I haven't spoken to the team about that, but I think that's basically where we're at.
Excellent. Yeah, that'd be good to know. And there's a pretty good conversation going on trading. Is it beta or beta? So I say beta. But yeah, let's maybe talk a little bit about your R&D roadmap that you're kind of alluding to. That's the next item on the topic. And I saw you had posted a couple of weeks ago here, kind of both a roadmap update, which I think was maybe a retrospective, that looked backwards a couple of months, and then a prospective prioritization roadmap. Can you maybe walk us through those and maybe focus a little bit more on the prospective one? I think that might be most helpful.
Either one, sorry, the backward looking or
the forward looking. I mean, feel free to highlight anything.
Yeah, no, I mean, just to touch on that very slightly. So so RPIP 37 is kind of like our protocol development RPIP, so like core development RPIP, and it has in there that we should do like quarterly updates on the roadmap. So that's why that kind of like backward looking one was in there, as a kind of an update on what we've been doing and what we've been working on. In terms of the roadmap prioritization one, actually I think we should probably do another like announcement on it, but really it was just going through so one of the obviously with the tokenomics RPIPs being kind of ratified, we've got quite a lot of work ahead of us, but again, as part of the RPIP 37, we kind of have to kick off the discussion around roadmap prioritization and make sure that there's we're kind of covering off the things that the community want to see. So that's basically what that is. It's just kicking off the discussion, whether there's any like themes or areas that we should be focusing on in the future. This kind of almost is post Saturn, because there's not, we're working on the actual RPIPs until then, but it's still a good discussion to have in terms of that regular touch point on prioritization. So to be honest, it hasn't got an awful lot of engagement. Nosha has definitely jumped in there around the ODAL, reducing the ODAL roles, which I've kind of said it is on the back burner, but Saturn actually introduces some really good groundwork. So Houston introduced some really good groundwork, and Saturn will further that. So in terms of those, reducing the ODAL roles and responsibilities, things like the way that the voting stuff is challenged. So this kind of like optimistic proving system that we built for the voting system, that is something that we could potentially reuse for ODAL duties in the future. The other things that are in Saturn are things like there's like a beacon chain state root verifier, which enables us to write proofs on beacon chain state. So that can probably help us again going forward once we get into the ODAL, removing the ODAL duties as well. So although that priority, it has taken a bit of a backseat, because it was one of the priorities that was highlighted in the previous round of prioritization. It is something that is kind of like being progressively worked on. Saturn also removes one of the ODAL duties. It removes the scrub check because it's no longer needed. So that's kind of like a key point as well. But no, it's good. What we'll do is we'll try to put that up again to make sure that people see it. But yeah, I think probably the fact that there is actually quite a lot of backlog of work. There hasn't been that much of a comment on there.
Yeah, so it is kind of an interesting time where you're maybe still straddling a fence a little bit here, right? I mean, maybe if we look backwards just for a second and kind of the post-Houston um, items that are still there, right? I guess there's is it a hot fix that still needs to be released? Like what percentage of the time is the team spending on completing that or reviewing that audit versus forward looking stuff? Are you split 50-50 or is it 60-40? What do you think the overall split is?
No, so with the Houston hotfix, that's done. So that we were spending quite a lot of time on the Houston hotfix, but that is now dev complete. So we are kind of just waiting for kind of like when we can get the audits in. I think Sigma just has to come back to us, and then we're deciding whether we put another audit in. But we're kind of like thinking about we're mainly kind of figuring out what that scheduling looks like. So we're just working with Sigma on what that looks like. But yeah, so no, in terms of the actual hotfix itself. Oh, sorry. There's two elements. The code is code complete, but there's some like governance elements which I've been kind of like trying to figure out. How that looks like from an RPIC perspective. And so I'm going to try and sort out that this week, and then so that we can kind of nail that down and get that out to governance as well. Yeah, so there's those two elements, but basically from a development perspective, we're all on Saturn. So it is well. I've been working on V2 to be fair, but the Fornax and Kane have been working on Saturn. So Kane's making some really great progress on the like this generic verifier, which is used in a few different places, but for basically verifying beacon chain state proofs. So that's like a key element of the of Saturn. So he's been working on that. Fornax has been working on the new deposit mechanics, and kind of some of the megapool kind of stuff, or the kind of infrastructure around the megapool stuff. So no, it's going really well so far, and so yeah, we're making good work.
So yeah, let's explore a little bit of Saturn. But before we leave that, I guess just one last thing on the post Houston. So and I always know time predictions are always kind of hard, but like in your best guess, and reasonable guess, like when do you think we might see audits complete, and when do you think the final code deployment for the post Houston cleanup would be out there just to close that chapter? Do you have any ETAs?
The post Houston, the hotfix. I don't know because we haven't gotten back from Sigma yet. I would hope that would be very soon, like the next few weeks. So I would hope that would be the case, but I don't know for sure until I get that information back from Sigma Prime. In terms of Saturn is a long way. One of the things that I wanted to try to get onto this week was kind of at least getting some milestones together, so that we could have at least some pegs in the sand. I haven't really been able to do that because I've been doing a lot of the V2 stuff. I'm trying to get through a lot of that testing. But we're still kind of like targeting Q2 next year. I mean, that seems reasonable for us at this stage. But until we kind of really get into it, it's hard.
Okay,
Heads in sand.
Yeah, let me kind of ask a question about that because it's Saturn. I guess is it's kind of funny. It's going to be like the actual rocket series. There's going to be, I guess, a Saturn Zero, a Saturn One, a Saturn Two, and heck, there might even be a Saturn Five a couple years from now. But so what's the kind of the latest thoughts from the team about the ETH only Saturn Zero? I guess that's maybe the least contentious part of it, and then there's the cliff, the changing about the minimum RPL collateral to earn rewards. There's lots of discussion on that, but I think both ETH only reduced commission, ETH only mini pools, and removing the cliff are part of, I guess, a quicker upgrade that people are referring to as Saturn Zero, and then Saturn One, I think, has some of the other tokenomic designs in there. Can you maybe walk us through what your thoughts or the team's thoughts are on this, and anything you need from the community and to help kind of evolve these thoughts?
Yeah, so I've definitely been having a lot of discussion around that in the ETH only thread. I think I was initially quite reluctant. I was reluctant on like from a high level, and then reluctant from a technical level. But as I've kind of like walked through it, and the community has been patient with me catching up. Um, I've actually, yeah, it makes an awful lot of sense. So obviously, we want to deliver these features as quickly as possible as well. So anything that that can have like a reduced development impact and still deliver the some of that value is very important. So yeah, no, we've been working through it, and I'm pretty comfortable with how that kind of works, or the overall high level kind of aims, and the kind of like technical thing as well. I think there was still some. There was still anyway. I haven't really. There was one last piece that I was kind of looking at, but it seems pretty positive from that perspective.
So then, and I certainly encourage anybody that has questions to maybe post them in trading here, or just hop up in here and ask the question. But so one of the things you were saying, Darren, earlier is that Saturn One, I think it would be quarter 2 of 2025. But and I don't want to get ahead of the PDAO, but it sort of looks like the Saturn Zero is being debated, and it's moving forward in a pre-RPIP here. It's up on the kind of the DAO forum, but if Saturn is Zero design, this ETH only and removing the cliff goes forward and is supported by the PDAO, what does that look like? Is that a much easier thing, or is that still quarter 1, quarter 2, or is that something we could see this year?
I mean, it really depends on like how the process goes. As far as I'm aware, there's quite a bit of tree gen changes. So it's not. So there's although some of it is very easy because it's the configs, well, parameters of the protocol that just needs to change. Actually, we need the hotfix in anyway, because you can't really set the RPL stake to 0 without it. Or you can set it to like some ridiculously low number, but you still have to supply some. So it's better if it's just if it can be set to 0. So we're reliant on the hotfix to kind of like do that. But then, which is fine because that should probably go out first anyway. Then there is some work on the tree gen to be done, and obviously that needs to be done, in a kind of like robust and kind of way. So I mean, I could see it coming. I could see it happening kind of like before the end of the year. But then, yeah, I don't know what the community are thinking around that. But that's kind of where I'm thinking.
Okay, yeah, that's very very helpful. I think that time frame, hot fix, tree gen work, and tree gen is, I guess, just smart node changes, right? And then maybe Saturn Zero, if the PDAL could keep that pace up, Saturn Zero by the end of the calendar year, and quarter two for Saturn One.
Yeah, I mean that's what kind of feels feels right. But we'll have to kind of like see how it actually kind of unfolds. I know. So I think we're going to try and get, in terms of capacity, if everything goes well with the ETH only kind of like governance side of things, then we'll probably get Patches and Thomas to kind of like work on those changes, the tree gen changes. And Patches is already kind of looking at like a testing framework for the tree gen, so that we can really make sure that that is works as it should do. So you get some really good testing across that those tree gen changes. So that's going to be really good.
Okay, and then anything else on either the roadmap or Saturn fixes or the Saturn updates that you want to share with the community, or anything you need from the community?
I think I mean there's other stuff going on in terms of like the core dev funding, and we're having some discussions around that, and just ways of working better, ways of working together and all of that sort of thing. That's kind of happening as well. Yeah, I think that's basically it.
Okay, perfect. Then maybe we'll continue on in governance. I'm sure we'll come back to you, Langers, for something here. But in governance, there were three things being posted out of there. I guess the first one is that there was a post-mortem produced for the rocket split grant that I think kind of looked kind of retrospectively at the grant and what worked and what was positive and not positive about the grant producing the rocket split contractor there. Um, and then there's always a great report at the end of every GMC grant period that Schifrin puts together. The last one published here was for round 15. I highly encourage you, if you haven't taken a look at one of these GMC reports, are actually quite useful with lots of good information, but it kind of outlines a little bit of the current spending treasury report, what grants were looked at, and how they were voted. Lots of really good information. I encourage you to look in there. And then last but not least, maybe Mav, you can comment on this a little bit, is all four recent governance proposals passed, and this was for the tokenomics rework. You want to share a little bit about that? And I guess folks are, if they voted, they're eligible to claim a POAP.
Hey, yes, that's right. So the POAP is under the ARPIT 49 vote. So if you voted, you can click back through there on Snapshot and mint the POAP. But yes, there's 4 votes. Closed a little while ago, but important step on the road to Saturn and some of these tokenomics changes. So we had the ARPIT 49 being the tokenomics rework, and then the 3 others being the node distributor user fund unbundling under ARPIT 57, and then ARPIT 58 was the MEV penalty guardrail, and ARPIT 61 was the balance submission guardrail. And yeah, as usual, a lot of great work put into drafting these ARPIPs and getting the votes up, and getting some consensus beforehand on Discord and the DAO governance forum. And good voting turnout, well over quorum, and largely in favor. So yeah, important step on the governance path there.
Yeah, it's really good to see these things finally kind of go through voting and pass here, and I think it really helps. I guess it really kind of helps shape some of that roadmap that Langers was talking about just previously in there. And now, I guess the details is now that governance is spoken, right? It's really about to how best to design the work and the design around it. So it'd be really great to see how these things shape out over time here. And then let's see a couple other items here. Integrations, right? There's always this really useful spreadsheet, I think it is probably the best way, the RPL DeFi update, right? This is, I guess, a listing of all the various DeFi integrations so that you can use in it. So it's always a good thing to see, right?
Yeah, that's the one. A kind of one-stop shop for how to use rETH in the DeFi world. And then we had just a couple of media and marketing topics worth mentioning. One is a potential future guest for a community call, which is, I guess, a project that was set up which allows node operators to mint a little commemorative NFT. It's called Guardians of the Ether. And we're going to get Leo, who I believe is the founder, on to chat about this a little bit more in the future, probably later in the month. But if node operators want to find out a little bit more about that project, they can click through from the bi-weekly update on Medium. Then we also had.
I was just going to add, it'd be great to have Leo on. It looked really good, and I saw it in the biweekly, and that kind of prompted me again to go mint it. And I'll have to go back and recall. I think it's your withdrawal address that I needed to claim it from. So that's good. You don't have to use your Node wallet to claim it. I think it's your withdrawal address, your rocket pool withdrawal address, not the withdrawal credential from the beacon chain, but your withdrawal address that I was able to successfully sign a message and claim it from. I don't know what you use it for. I guess we'll have to find that out from Leo, but it's out there. So if you haven't had a chance to claim it, and I think the rule was you had to be a node operator during the merge for this first issue.
Okay. Well, I'm slowly getting closer to the point where I'm thinking about spinning up a node myself. So I guess I won't be probably eligible for a lot of these things going forwards, but obviously good to see people who have been at it for a while being recognized. And then, of course, we had you on, was it last week as well, wasn't it? Yeah, with Karpatki, a guest to talk about rETH being available on Gnosis chain. And then another future guest, probably on, not next week, I think the week after, is Contango. So that's a protocol that enables looping on rETH if you want to leverage up and get a bump in return with obviously a corresponding bump in risk. Do your own research and tune in to hear more from Contango in a couple of weeks if we can get the time zones to align. I think those guys are spread between like Hong Kong and Europe, and it's probably 1 hour of the day where everyone's awake at the same time, but we'll make it happen. And I think that's it.
Yeah. I guess I'd certainly invite anyone from the community, if you have questions, feel free to ask them in trading while we have members of the team with us on the community call, or other things that are there. I guess one thing, Mav, that is always my favorite thing is talking about the next meetup with the team and conference here. And I saw there was a Twitter post coming out from the staking conference that indicated Rocket Pool is now a sponsor of the staking summit. But you want to give us a little bit of rundown about the team's plans for Bangkok and the staking summit and DevCon, and perhaps maybe an RP meetup? What's the latest on the planning and thoughts about that?
So we have just finalized our travel plans, flights and accommodation, It's pretty convenient from Australia to pop up to Thailand. So we're going to be arriving on the 7th, the kind of evening before the Staking Rewards Staking Summit kicks off, which is 8th and 9th. And then there's a little bit of a gap in between before DevCon week starts. And we'll be hanging around until the following weekend. So all up, I think it's about a 10-day stay in Bangkok. And we'll certainly arrange a meetup for community members who are in town. Bangkok's always a good place for grabbing a beer, a bite to eat. And we will have a booth at the Staking Summit. That was kind of mentioned in their post overnight. We may coordinate something for anyone who's attending to hang out at the booth, but I don't expect it to be an ETH Denver kind of affair. I think the booth is more just to have a kind of spot to throw some bags and hang out than actively promote Rocket Pool itself. As such, it sounds like there's going to be a lot of talk about restaking and potentially even Bitcoin staking. So I think for me personally, it'll be an interesting opportunity to see what people are getting up to in other corners of the staking world. And for anyone who's running a node, there is an opportunity to get a discount on tickets if you haven't bought already. I think it's quite a significant discount, runs to as much as 80 or 90% off. We will put out a notification probably with the next bi-weekly update and include a mention in that update early next week in terms of how to get that discount for the Staking Summit. As for DevCon itself, I seem to recall there may have been a final round of tickets that went out. I set an alarm and sat in a queue to snag the team's tickets. It wasn't actually that difficult. From what I've heard in the past, it's been pretty challenging to get DevCon tickets, but I'm not sure what they've done this time around, but the process seems to be a lot easier. So yeah, if you haven't planned already, I'm not sure how easy it is to get DevCon tickets now, but yeah, it'd be great to see as many people as possible in Thailand, and I think that includes you, doesn't it, Ken?
Yeah, definitely. I've already got my tickets, both the conferences and the over the water flight. So hotels made. So it's definitely on my go list here. I'm looking forward to it, and it'll be pretty exciting to see once they publish the agenda or the schedule. And one of the things I have been seeing, it kind of came up, I guess, in last week's call, is unlike the other maybe Ethereum conferences where there's a lot of side events and perhaps maybe the real events are the side events, right? The meetup is just kind of co-location in the city, but DevCon's a little different where they've got a really big venue. They put a lot of coordination in terms of high quality audio. You can hear the speakers. They're real professional layouts, even in the back of the room in a big auditorium. So during the actual days of DevCon, the game of the plan is really to be in the venue for as much time as possible. It still might be possible to sneak out for a dinner. You'll get kind of tired of being in the same venue space for 12, 13, 14 hours. But yeah, that the weekend before and the weekend after, that's kind of where I think the side events are going to be. So hope to see a lot of people there, and I think the quality of the presentations and the conversations is always what attracts me to this one. It's this is it. This is the people are in it for the tech conference.
Well, these days, it feels like sometimes that's all there is to be in it for. But that's all right. That's all good.
Yeah, it certainly be interesting to see, and yeah, the staking summit one beforehand. It'd be always interesting to see what people's thoughts are on there. Last year, I found a lot of value to it. It was a little more, I don't want to say corporate because maybe it was just a lot of professional node stakers there, in a good way. But definitely learned a lot from all of it, and to see so many people talking about staking. And yeah, I too had seen a lot of chatter about Bitcoin staking, and I have no idea what that is or how that works, but it'd be interesting to see.
I wonder if I can put my fraction of a wrapped Bitcoin to work. Probably not.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. It'd be interesting to see how it works there, and yeah, it'd be interesting to see a year later, since Istanbul's conference about where we are in the restaking world. Right, there is a lot of hype into it, and it's going to be kind of interesting to see what is actual now. Use cases and demand cases for restaking versus what was maybe just some of the hype and the run up to it. So that too will also be kind of interesting to take a look at.
Hmm. Langers has just mentioned in trading about some thoughts on the cliff or removing it. So it might be worth a look if that's a topic you're interested in listening in.
With your conference sponsoring, will you guys get a slot on the speaking agenda? Are we going to expect any announcements from the team around DevCon or the staking summit?
Yeah, I actually remembered that while you were talking and then forgot again, so thanks. So, Staking Summit, we do have a speaking slot. The exact topic is still to be determined. For DevCon, we did submit an application. I think it was under the workshop option just to do a node operating workshop, but I believe that there are some other parties who are interested in coordinating that, including ETH Staker, if I'm not mistaken. So we may end up helping out as part of their workshop. But either way, I don't think there's been any announcements in terms of decisions from the DevCon organizers on speakers and workshops. So that's still wait and see. But yeah, all going well, one way or another, we will have some presence at DevCon.
Excellent, excellent. And then Langers and Mav, any other things as we kind of bring today's community call to a close? Any other topics that we haven't talked about that you want to share with the community?
We do have the next community call event loaded. So same time, sorry to everyone in Europe, next week, one day earlier. Ken, you're going to be back with us. Thanks again. And we're talking with Archive Protocol. So similar to another project we had on a little while ago, it's a kind of portfolio monitoring, tracking company, and they wanted, I think, to get some feedback, or they were working on supporting the Rocket Pool ecosystem. Obviously, a little bit unique having both the liquid staking and the node operating side. So tune in for that. Maybe we can get Langers back for that one as well. It's a Australian friendly time, and we'll have a new bi-weekly update out by then to talk through as well, hot off the press. I think that is all I have for other updates. Thanks, Ken.
And Langers, what about you? Any last closing thoughts, words, or Brad you want to share?
Yeah, so in terms of me, I think Halululu has posted the ETH only kind of sentiment poll post on the DAO forum. I saw that come up yesterday. So definitely take a look at that. Look out for the next V2 beta that will come out. The more people will get to test it, the better. And the fact that the team are kind of like heads down on Saturn at the moment, that's going really well so far. So yeah, that's really kind of like where we're up to.
All right. Well, I've been keeping an eye on trading here. I don't see any other questions from the community, so maybe this is a good point to end today's call and sign off here. But I encourage anyone that wants to just hang around after the recording stopped to chit chat a little bit. Feel free here.
Cool. Awesome. Thanks, Ken.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Have a great day.